Okay. Yes, we are live.
Hello, I warmly welcome you to our 19th webinar by the Academy of Space Renaissance International. My name is Sabine Heinz and I'm the person responsible for our webinar series. And on this 16th of May, I'm delighted that you have come to join us. Today, our special guest is Adriano Autino, Vice President of SRI. Welcome, Adriano.
Thank you very much, Sabine. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, as always, actually, but it's very nice. And Adriano will speak today about his book, A Greater World is Possible. He says the expansion of civilization beyond the limits of our planet is a moral issue of our time. And I also would like to welcome very warmly our president. He is at the moment in Quito, Bernard Foyne. Welcome.
Yes, so welcome, thank you. It's a pleasure for me to greet you with one foot on the northern hemisphere and the other foot on the southern hemisphere. But of course, we have feet well on the ground, but our mind is toward space. So we are dreaming about the moon, Mars, because clearly our world has to be expanded, and our destiny, even if we start with the cradle of the Earth, clearly will include the moon, Mars, orbital station beyond. And clearly that's the meaning of what we call the greater Earth or the greater world. And so I'm very much looking forward to hear Adriano Autino, not a great Space Renaissance founder, and as well ambassador, and to look at all the dimension of expanding and into the greater world. So thank you very much, and all the best from Ecuador.
Thank you, Bernard. Before I leave you the floor, Adriano, I would like to introduce you to our audience. Adriano Autino, born in Moncrivello, richtig? Correct?
Yes, Moncrivello.
Yeah, is Vice President of SRI, and he is the co-founder and former president of the Space Renaissance Initiatives, and since 2010, Space Renaissance International. And Adriano is diplomed in industrial electronics, acting since 1971 as a software and system engineer, then project manager and entrepreneur in the field of real-time automation systems. His insatiable curiosity and the desire to engage in frontier fields have led him to work in the aerospace environment and to devise and develop an integrated software system supporting the systems engineering and the project lifecycle management processes. Adriano authored and co-authored several books, papers, and articles on the theme of civilization expansion into the outer space. And amongst them, the one he is presenting today, Adriano, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sabine. Very kind and nice as always. So this evening I will speak about my book, my last book, that is this one. A Greater World is Possible, can be found on Amazon. So just Google for it on Amazon and you will find it. It is available in two versions, ebook and paperback on the paper. That's this one. Okay, let's not take other time because my presentation is long. During the last 2 days, I worked to cut it, but I ended up to add something more.
And how long we have to wait now?
No.
2 hours
Well,
or?
No. I hope it will be inside 1 hour. Okay, I will do my best. 50 minutes better.
We want to go fast beyond the Earth, so we have to hurry.
Yes, of course. So let's start immediately. So this is A Greater World is Possible. The expansion of civilization behind the limits of our home planet is the moral issue of our time. Okay. So I will start with Stephen Hawking, that said in 2001, he released an interview to Daily Telegraph saying that I don't think the human race will survive the next 1,000 years unless we spread into space. There are too many accidents that can befall life on a single planet, but I am an optimist. We will reach out to the stars. So this was Stephen Hawking. Another famous quotation is from Konstantin Tsiolkovsky, who wrote in 1895, Earth is the cradle of humanity, but one cannot remain in the cradle forever. So Tsiolkovsky is considered the father of the space, of the modern space philosophy, and not only because he was also a scientist. So the first session is, I will, of course, follow some chapters of my book. And the first chapter is Morals, Conflicts and Growth in the Closed World. So this is the image of a city of Earth bombed during the war. And you might be surprised because I don't put a picture of Ukraine, but we didn't need Ukraine to know that we are very much immature yet in our world, because we have 70 wars around the planet, and Syria is one of these. And the Syrian people are not different from the Ukraine and European. They are people, and they are bombed, and they are desperate. Okay. And this is another picture that talks about another tragedy that happens in the last 2 years, the COVID-19. These lorries, these military trucks, are not going.
Sorry for interrupting you, but you didn't start your presentation. We see only you. You have to share the screen.
I'm sorry. I didn't share my. Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Thank you, Sabine. Okay. So now I think we are. Okay, I will not repeat everything. However, okay, I read Stephen Hawking and I read Tsiolkovsky and the first section, and this was the picture of the of a bombed city in Syria in 2021. And this is another tragical picture. These trucks are not going to fight, but they are transporting the corpse of the dead people in Bergamo in March 2020, dead for COVID. So I think these are two images that will give us the reality of our situation on our planet. But something is moving in the right direction. Of course, this is a Starship by SpaceX that we eagerly expect to make the first orbital flight, maybe in 1 month. So when will the future come? No cities on the moon, no settlement on Mars. Resources and energy shortage, pandemics, environmental crisis, wars. The utopian future long promised by classic science fiction is not here. The gloomy future promised since 40 years by the dystopian science fiction seems to be already here. Yet something is moving in the right direction. Will it win over the many regressive factors? This is the question. So humanism, what does it mean? There are several definitions of the word humanism, humanist. If you look on the encyclopedia and dictionaries, you will see that humanism is a 15th century Latin humanista, teacher of classics, or a person who shares the cultural ideas of humanism as a literary and artistic movement. a classicist, specialist of literature and classic arts, and non-technological disciplines. Literatus, literary man as opposed to a scientist. Humanism, literary and artistic movement, which flourished from the end of 14th century. And a philosophical orientation that recognizes the centrality of man and his dignity, also called anthropocentrism. As 100% humanist, my priority are human beings. I don't advocate human ignorance on the rest of nature, but acknowledging of our great responsibility. We are the only species endowed with high reasoning skills and awareness so far. It means not to delegate decisions and initiatives belonging to us. We are also learning, thanks to the works that we are doing in our academy, the Space Philosophy Laboratory, headed by Dr. Marie-Louise Heuser. We are also learning that there is an history of the natural philosophy that's quite different from the one that we hear in the several propagandas. So this history says that humans are not something different from nature. We are part of nature. We are the highest expression of nature because we are the intelligent life, even if sometimes we can, often we can think that we are a stupid form of life and not that intelligent. However, I call myself a humanist, totally on the side of humans, a supporter, partisan of humankind. The above is to be intended not against other species, but against anti-human ideologies. So it is in the discussion. I found these three representations of the position of humans to the rest of nature. The ego is ignorance of man, not the male man, over nature, not that the woman in this representation is put together with the other animals. Then the echo representation, woman and man equal to other animals on the same level. And Siva is man and woman serving the rest of nature. Let me say, I don't support any of this view. Particularly, I don't support this one, but neither I support this one. So, dolphins are nice and intelligent, yet can we discuss about morals and ethics with a dolphin or with a chimpanzee? Of course not. So ours are understanding and awareness, our is responsibility. Intelligence is not an on-off property, yet a gradual one. Dolphins, chimpanzees, and few other species are currently estimated capable of individual self-awareness. All of the animal species can feel sufferance, pain and sufferance, because they are sentient beings. Moral rules and ethical reasoning can be applied only to beings which understand and can discuss, approve, share the rules. So compassion for all the sentients is a universal ethical principle coming from Buddhism, but coming also from other religions, but particularly from Buddhism, to avoid causing sufferance as much as possible. So, well, intelligence and awareness are gradual. We are the top of this process, so we have more responsibility. We are, let me say, leader of the life on this planet, and it is our task to do our best for us and for the other forms of life. So, resource wars are updating their goals, but not their practice of murder and destruction. The high demand of microchips by the electronic society promotes the rare earths and the regions reach of them as a primary target. The energy demand by the internet society is bigger than the one of the previous mechanical society. And non-terrestrial sources, including renewables and nuclear, will be enough. The industrial society is seriously compromised. The social fear is growing, paving the path to new wars, conflicts, dictatorships, and authoritarian regimes. In maybe the last book of Dan Brown, titled inferno, a transhumanist scientist concerned about the unsustainable and geometrical progression of population growth decides to provide a bioengineering solution to the problem. When following such logic, it is easy to be captured by the necessity of the answer. Yet Dan Brown, a hyper-intelligent scientist, does not think of the obvious solution to the problem. If the fabulous ground is far much better to enlarge the home rather than sterilizing parents and children. COVID-19 on the current situation on planet Earth seems to support the Inferno strategy. To mortify our natural desire to socialize, travel, work, love, and make children, constraining ourselves to stay closed in our houses. So, a humanist moral scheme of values should be made in the name of humanism and not of nihilism. We have a goal of nihilism, but not only of nihilism. However, for them, this is the only goal: reduce human footprints on the planet. For humanism, the goal is to assure the survival and progress of civilization, also reducing human footprint on the planet, but not only. The strategy, the nihilism apply passive policies, industry downsize, population downsize. Humanism try to make active policies, new industries and civilian space development, most of all. The outcomes are, in the case of nihilist strategies, is a cultural decay, environmental, social, and social collapse, civilization implosion. And for humanists, the outcomes applying active policies and developing space, civilian space will be a cultural renaissance, social, cultural, demographic growth, earth environment relieved, and civilization evolution. So it's time again to stall the fire to the gods. Against any nihilist passive strategy, the moral choice is active strategy. Choosing Prometheus, relying on human intelligence, avoiding our species to be discarded as a failed experiment, giving fire to humans to kick off the civilian space development. A moral strategical choice, extremely urgent, is to kick off the civilian space development, and some of the main benefits are overcoming the global crisis towards an unprecedented economic and cultural development, the protection of planet Earth's environment by moving industrial development outside, the mitigation of the global risk of extinction through settlement on several celestial bodies, both natural and artificial, the mitigation of climate and meteorological phenomena, escape the pincer of consumerism as the only support to economy, and the high education value of space travel for young people, and enhance cultural and social ethics and new renaissance. And this concept is very clear. Earth is not sick, she's pregnant of a baby solar civilization. The birth is imminent. And last but not least, the world peace, thanks to the progressive obsolescence of the wars for resources. So we have exhausted the resources of the planetary ecological niche that raised us so far. The resources of the solar system will be enough for millennia for the development of many trillions of solar system citizens. The useful launch window may close sooner than we expected. So a couple of years ago, I had a very interesting conversation with Greg Mariniak. I will run now only 2 minutes of this conversation to listen to Greg, what he says about that, about the launch window.
I think the most important question we wanted to give you was, do you think humanity is doing everything that is to be done and that we are in time on our evolutionary route to space?
Yeah, so here's the short answer, and I'm saying that we've talked about this at ISU over the decades of the International Space University and the people that started SIDS and Space Studies Institute and X Prize. Many of us believe that there's sort of a launch window. There's a time in which our society, I mean our species, will be able to do spaceflight. And it's not infinitely long.
Yeah.
It is possible that unless we are successful at building the underpinnings to allow our civilization to survive and thrive, we may get so embroiled in problems like massive climate that we will not have the free time or money as a species to achieve the human breakout into space. We call it the launch window theory, or I call it that. You know, are we doing everything we can do? Absolutely not. The issue is time, and you know, are we doing it fast enough? You know, absolutely not. The present National Space Society in the United States is made up of two space groups: the National Space Institute and the L5 Society, which was started by people that were interested in space colonization. And L5 Society used to have a motto: L5 by 95. You know, space colonies by 1995. And I would tease my L5 friends because they like to get together and talk a lot, and they didn't do very much. They just like to talk about it.
Yeah.
I said, you guys need a new motto: L5 while we're still alive. And that's no longer funny because, you know, here it's decades later, we haven't really done enough. Now, I'm still very hopeful. X Prize, the recent success of commercial spaceflight, as seen by the work of Elon's company SpaceX, even though he's driven by the old and semi-useless dream of having lots of people on Mars. That's an antiquated dream that dates back to when we thought Mars was maybe an okay place to live until we went there. But I'm delighted that he does the work that he's doing, and I know him, and he's been a big X Prize supporter too. So I'm glad that's happened, and I'm especially excited by the fact that Jeff Bezos is spending $1 billion of his own money, his personal money, per year on Blue Origin, and very quietly doing very exciting things.
Yeah.
And it turns out, and he has said publicly, the reason he's doing that is because when he was in high school, he read a book by Gerard O'Neill called The High Frontier. So good stuff. So I'm hopeful, but the work that you're doing to show people why it's important for humanity,
Exactly.
is critically important.
I think the most important question we wanted to give you was: do you think humanity is doing everything that is to be done, and that we are in time on our evolutionary route to space?
Yeah. So here's the short answer, and I'm saying that we talked about this at ISU over the.
I'm sorry, I'm making some confusion here, but maybe we can go back to the presentation, I hope. Just a moment, please. I'm sorry. Okay. So, Krafft-Ehricke, in his paper, The Extraterrestrial Imperative in Bulletin of the Atomic Scientist, 1971, wrote, one of the most irresponsible statements parroted ad nauseam since rational concern for our environment has exploded into an emotional syndrome, defines man as the only animal smearing his nest. Each animal fills its nest with the products of its metabolism if it is unable to get out of it. Space technology gives us for the first time the freedom to leave our nest, at least for certain functions, in order not to dirty it. This was Krafft-Ehricke. And this was Isaac Asimov growth and industrial development are essential for the survival of civilization. People who view industrialization as a source of the Earth's troubles, its pollution, and the desecration of its surface can only advocate that we give it up. This is something that we can't do. We have the tiger by the tail. We have 4.5 billion people on Earth. This was written in 1980. We can't support that many unless we're industrialized and technologically advanced. So the idea is not to get rid of industrialization, but to move it elsewhere, somewhere else. If we can move it a few thousand miles into space, we still have it, but not on Earth. Earth can then become a world of parks, farms, and wilderness without giving up the benefits of industrialization. So Isaac Asimov, in his speech at Rutgers University in 1980. Okay, what we see here are the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN. All of these goals are deeply shareable, and these goals means that we need a decent work and economic growth. These goals support all the other goals. No poverty, zero hunger, good health, quality education, gender equality, clean water, etc. We know that all of these things that we can say we have in the advanced industrial countries are thanks to the industrial development, the industrial society. And we can continue to have these things and to extend this thing to the rest of the planet, the less fortunate rest of the planet, only we have a decent work and economic growth through an industrial development. But what does it mean? Civilization cannot stop growing on all vectors: culture, ethics, democracy, freedom, economy, population, and numbers, demographics. All what we have is due to industrial society, education systems, mass health system, human dignity by morally decent jobs. Only growing economy and markets can provide new business opportunities and employment for young people. Only through an enduring and growing economy we can reduce and eliminate poverty, hunger, underdevelopment, fear, mafias, wars, and conflicts, all the goals of the UN agenda. But economic growth requires adequate raw materials and energy sources. Our solar system can provide resources by several orders of magnitude higher than the needs of 8 billion people. The foundation of space humanism is to use our species' conscious intelligence, our great scientific and technological knowledge to expand into space. But many people question this concept in asking, is it growth really necessary? Couldn't we have a steady situation and to grow in other direction, not by size and not by industries? Well, progress leads to better living conditions. This is from the Neolithic revolution, I can say. Progress also creates new problems. The population is growing faster when the progress happens. The demand for resources and energy grow accordingly. Yet this is the road of a cultural species. Growth is dangerous, yet necessary. Accepting risk is a normal condition from the very dawn of the history. So this is the paradigm with which Julian Simon Burris, Thomas Malthus paradigm. Numeric growth is key to progress because growth of population and income generates shortage of resources and forecast of shortage of resources. That increase the prices, and the increased prices generate new opportunities of profit. New enterprises birth, new ways of satisfying shortages, increase of resources, growth of wellness, and the cycle restarts. So the concept is each crisis generates a progress step. This is Octavia Butler, is a science fiction writer who wrote a beautiful novel called The Parable of the Sower. She says the only God is change. cultural biodiversity, wealth of different points of view, social growth, the social elevator, biodiversity of different genetic strains thanks to space diaspora. Everything in nature is change. Stability is the characteristic of death. The only God is change. Stable are only environments where life presumably never existed, like the moon. Winning species grow, those which do not adapt or refuse to expand die out prematurely. So there is a node, a very thick node, formed by energy, and so energy is very interconnected with evolution and with the pressure on our planet. So the demand of global energy in the closed world has risen from the very beginning of the history. Up to a certain point, it was not that important until the rural tribal society, when only 1 billion people was on Earth. But then, with the scientific and technological revolution in the 19th century and before, we started to demand more energy, from up to 200 exajoules a year. And with the electronic society, we reached 8 billion people on Earth now, in the 20s of the new century. And we reached the demand of 500 exajoules per year. And going to 2050, we will require 700 exajoules a year. And we don't know what it will happen in 2050 or even before if we will remain closed in this world. If we think about an evolution path, seeing the same figures as before, but at this point, between 2020 and 2050, all the scholars of the Kardashev model collocates the transition between type 1 and type 2 civilization, break-even, that if we drawn into a solar system society, we can target to be many trillion people in the solar system, and to use the energy of the sun very much more than 700 exajoules. So what is the Kardashev scale of civilization? Kardashev was an astronomer, a Russian astronomer, who categorized 3 types of civilization. He created this scale because he was trying to understand how to recognize possible other civilizations in the galaxy and in the universe. And Kardashev also became a member of the SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. And however, his classification says that type 1 civilization only uses the energy available on its own planet, up to 10 to 17 power watts. A type 2 civilization is capable of utilizing the energy of its star, in our case the sun, up to 20 to the 26th power of watt. And the type 3 civilization uses the galactic energy in entire. To the scale of Kardashev, to the Kardashev scale, some other scholars added some criteria. Robert Zabrin, the president and founder of the Mars Society, added the resources criteria. So using our planet's resources, using our solar system resources, using our galaxy resources. And Carl Sagan, the founder of SETI, adding the information, managing our planet's information, using our solar system information, using our galaxy information. During our Congress in 2021, our third World Congress of Space Renaissance, we added the criteria of inclusivity. We say that the type 1 civilization is not 100% inclusive, yet the citizen fight for our planet's resources. The type 2 civilization will be 100% inclusive because it will be able to use the resources and the energy of the solar system. And on a type 3, on a galactic civilization, we were not able to push our look so far. Nowadays we can see what it could be to expand in the solar system, and it is I think enough for many centuries in advance. So the energy from the sun each hour, 430 quintillion joules of energy from the sun hits the Earth. In comparison, the total amount of energy that all humans use in 1 year is 410 quintillion joules. So you see that this number is very much bigger than this one. Yet we cannot use such enormous amount of energy from the Earth's surface. It would mean to cover the whole planet's surface by solar panels that would kill forests, cultivations, and sea. The equation of sustainability is the sum of all human activities, and all key indicators say clearly that we are passing the threshold of what we can do on Earth's surface. Our pressure on this planet already exceeds the sustainable threshold. We cannot convey more energy on Earth's surface. To get using more of the energy provided by our sun, we need to build solar power stations in space, and using such energy in space for space settlement and space industrial development. So, my book includes an history of the rising human pressure on planet Earth. In 1961, when the first man went to orbit, Yuri Gagarin, the orbit was clean. We had very few satellites because it was the beginning of the space age. In the year 2000, situation was very different, and we can say that we closed ourselves in a telematic cage of satellites and debris. And in 2022, the Earth is submerged by its own garbage. Tons and tons of orbital debris coming from dead satellites and collisions and all these things are rotating on our heads. So we have a process that I call the metaphysical warming. Our Earth is under pressure from starvation, unemployment, underdevelopment, dictatorships, poverty, migrations, wars, climate, pollution, population, pandemics, and the byproducts of this pressure that the people feel in our bodies, even if they don't realize always in a rational way, are nihilism, fear of the future, anti-humanism, radical ecologism, hyper-nationalism, populism, closure, cultural decay, ethical decay, mafia, rise of conflicts, social conflicts. So a strategy for recovery and restart can only go through exodevelopment. Develop 100% reusable space transportation vehicles will download the cost to orbit. To clean Earth orbit, recover and reuse orbital debris, space flight risk will decrease. Reprocessed orbital debris and NEOs as in situ resources can boost the geo-lunar space industrialization. Mine the moon and NEOs to produce fuel in space. The cost of any space mission will be reduced. Another very important step to develop technologies to protect life on Earth in space from cosmic radiation. Develop artificial gravity space infrastructures in orbit and Lagrange point will push the space development, space settlement development. So let's come to the what I can say is the heart, the very core of my book, that is the value of human life versus any de Grootist doctrine. This is the current Weltanschauung. I already show it in some of my recent presentations. This is planet Earth, also called the planet. And these are impenetrable crystal balls, as they were 500 years ago, before the Kepler, Giordano Bruno, Kepler, and Galileo revolution. However, good news, Earth is in space. It is our mother planet, the third planet of our solar system, that is not different from the rest of the solar system. Yeah, of course it is different because it's the only planet where the life can grow up, because it has the ideal condition, where, temperature and distance from the sun, etc. But however, the material is the same, and the gravitational law are the same, and the way it turns around the sun is the same of the other objects of our solar system. It means that we can naturally expand in the solar system and beyond. With the help of our natural resources, curiosity, intelligence, science, and technology, we are immersed in a cosmic ecology. Nature is the same in the whole universe, as Plato, Giordano Bruno, Kepler, and the other philosophers and scientists asserted. And Robert Heinlein was maybe the first one to write this enlightened sentence: the Earth is just too small and fragile a basket for the human race to keep all its eggs in. This sentence is mentioned, quoted in several papers and speeches and so on, but it is true. So Gerard O'Neill gave a testimony before a congressional committee in 1978. The fatalism of the limits to growth alternative is reasonable only if one ignores all the resources beyond our atmosphere. Resources thousands of times greater than we could ever obtain from our beleaguered Earth. This teeny Earth is not humanity's prison, is not a closet and dwindling resource, but is in fact only part of a vast system rich in opportunities. So you can see how the philosophy that I mentioned before, that was already told by Plato and then by Giordano Bruno and other philosophers, is resonating in this sentence. Earth is not closet and widening reserve, but it is only part of a vast system rich in opportunities. The universe is all the same. Earth is not something different. Man is not something different from the nature. We are part of the nature. We are the highest expression of that. There's no more time. We have to choose the real priorities. The value of human patrimony is evident. A growing human patrimony means nursery of good ideas. The more people there are, the more good ideas. Growing markets will counters industrialization, wealth, democracy, and freedom. Avoiding a too elderly society. That would be a decaying society. And our natural instinct, if there are so many billions of people, maybe there will be a girl or a boy for me too. So, wealth and poverty, this is our situation now. Money is the mean that civilization has given itself to assign an accounting value to resources. The real problem is not where do we find the money to carry out the program, but where do we find the resources, human and material, to continue our civilized development. A huge richness we have, 8 billion of intelligent beings, a great poverty also. The planetary resources are no longer sufficient, but the good news, huge human resources are available to work with space resources. And this is another important concept that was written by Kraft Erike in his paper, Why Mankind Must Colonize Space, in 1950. We have to continue to emancipate ourselves because we are children of the biosphere. We are not pets of the biosphere. And this reconnects to one of my first slides of this presentation. We have the responsibility for ourselves and for the rest of the sentient beings, and we can fulfill our duty only if we will continue to emancipate ourselves, only if we will continue to grow up in science and acknowledgement and philosophy and everything. We cannot renounce to that. Should we let nature do its job? Yes, that's humankind, the highest agents of nature, to do the nature's job, to expand life into the solar system and beyond. So the growth is a path leading to a premature death. The Malthusian bureaucratic view only includes two variables, population size and food production. The missing variables are science advancement, green revolutions, human intelligence. The Malthusian view only see people like mouth to be fed. The dream of bureaucracy is a simplified society in which a steady herd of obedient consumers, while they take care of feeding them and keeping walls away. So this is the fake Malthusian parallel with only two variables, the population and production of food. And where is the intelligence? Totally absent. And they are also talking in all of the international conferences talking about climate and so on. They are talking about stability, demographic stability. Social and cultural complexity is a great richness, growing variety of points of view, more chances of solving complex problems. Stability for any species is almost impossible. Species grow when they find sufficient resources or decline and become extinct when cannot expand in a larger ecological niche. Furthermore, pandemics and other threats may reduce demographic size. Other elements affecting growth and the growth, individuals and mass psychology, hope and despair, confidence in the future and social fear, affecting human capacity to love, to hope, to see a rosy future, to make children. So this is a little bit more realistic projection that include the birth rate variable. As you see, the total population will continue to grow up to a certain point and then start declining. Why it will start declining? Because the birth rate is declining. And at a certain point, it will pass under the death rate. And this is the breakpoint of the declining demographic vector. But why is human fertility declining? Different animal species, in the absence of immediate predators that control their development, simply continue to grow until they exhaust their entire resource endowment within their ecological niche. Then the species faces a crisis and becomes extinct unless it can expand into a larger ecological niche. Human species as a cultural society doesn't escape that above model, yet it also follows more complex paths, although the final outcome might be similar. Human birth rate is starting to decrease for several different cultural reasons. The decline of the rural social model. Children were the capital of the family because they worked in the agriculture. Now, with the decline of the rural social model, that is no more true anymore. Women have jobs outside home, and we have women emancipation. No more angles of the house, but also finally they can develop their capabilities also outside home. And increased cost of life for families. The growth of family units in the so-called advanced world entails an increasing cost and the consequent worsening of the family's overall economic conditions. So no future, no hope. This is a very, very depressing situation. But the collapse of love and hope can be avoided. The coexistence of two current trends, a residual demographic growth and a decline in fertility rate, will probably result in the most devastating effect for our civilization. We may suppose that decline in human fertility will add at some points, perhaps not so far in time, to the condition that will cause the implosion of civilization. The endemic and permanent crisis, the increasing social problem caused by unsustainable growth in the closed pre-Copernican world, the collapse of fertility, that is the collapse of love and hope, can lead to a backward leap in the history of our civilization and of our species, a scenario much worse and more difficult to recover. So this is probably the breakdown that will happen if the current threats will continue. Whether the best social model turns out to be a capitalist liberal model or a socialist collectivist one or something else, growth and the growth are horizontal baseline conditions. Economic growth is a favorable condition for social and civil progress in whatever governance model. While the growth results in increasingly old population, demarketing, detechnologization, descientization, deculturing, decivilization, ultimately the growth leads to the probably premature extinction of human species. But all of the listed causes of decline in birth rate are cultural and not natural ones. The psychological cause is the most influent. The fear of the future represents a castrating factor for our species. The proof, only wealthy families whose future looks somewhat rosy are often the ones bearing a greater number of children. We could say that we risk the implosion of civilization because we are an intelligent species. Yet, as an intelligent species, we can rescue our civilization by our scientific and technological acumen expanding in a greater ecological niche. So, giving freedom for all and each human types, this is a concept that I developed more recently, and it was not present yet in my book. However, the great variety of human types, combining the Stephen Wall's attitudes, wanderer, settler, inventor, builder, visionary, protector, evolver, and the Gardner's type of intelligence, we have billions of human types, different. And if we add educational paths, family, geolocated cultures, different social conditions, we have a great number of different human types, each one with their own projects, aims, etc. Cultivating democracy and ethic will mean to assure freedom for all and each human type. And this is possible only expanding into space. So then we have to talk about ideologies, utopias, and other dangerous yet necessary tools. His Holiness Dalai Lama says, I believe that happiness and joy are the goal of life. If we know that the future will be very dark or painful, we lose our determination to live. Therefore, life is something that is based on hope. An innate quality among sentient beings, especially among human beings, is the need or strong inclination to encounter or experience happiness and to avoid suffering or pain. Therefore, the whole basis of human life is experience at various levels of happiness. Achieving or experiencing happiness is the purpose of life. Please note what he says, that if we know that the future will be very dark or painful, we lose our determination to live. And what do? We start to kill. We start to get crazy and to invade our neighbors and to make very, very bad things that we thought they were ended in the past century, but they are not. Therefore, life is something that is based on hope. So what we need is hope. Exactly. So any advancement, however slight, in any branch of human activity is caused by too powerful and unstoppable motivation. The intention to improve the individual's chances of survival, lowest levels of the Maslow scale of needs, and the desire to help improve the condition of existence in pursuit of happiness of communities and the species as a whole, highest levels on Maslow's scale. Ultimately, that mixture of selfishness, compassion, and protagonism, which characterizes for better or worse our species and define us as human beings. And the only perspective that can give back hope in the future to humans is a new great horizon of development, expanding civilization. Okay, I already say it maybe 20 times, but this is the very concept of my book and all my work and studies. Okay. So this is the Abraham Maslow hierarchic needs and utopias, or better, his pyramid had a shorter number of levels, but this was made by the students that are continuing his work. We can divide this scale in two, basic needs and growth needs. So starting from biological and physiological, air, food, drink, shelter, safety, love, and belongingness, esteem and reputation, up to cognitive, aesthetic, culture, self-actualization, and the highest one, transcendence, beyond personal self-caring for others. We can see that the classist utopias of the past century only worked with the lowest levels. Let me say, the basic subsistence levels, while a modern utopia, humanist utopia for today, should encompass all of the needs, of the human needs conceived by Maslow and the further students. So a humanist utopia for space age must include the complete satisfaction of all the needs in the Maslow pyramid. Everyone must have the opportunity to become wealthy without this involving ever again theft, murder, exploitation, coercion, suppression of the rights of others. And all this for a virtually unlimited number of humans, from each one according to their creativity and availability, to each one according to their desires and capacity of imagination. Or man does not live by bread alone, and the superfluous is indispensable. So, are all ideologies dangerous? No, we don't believe so. All the ideologies developed so far in history have served as engines of development, but they have generated conflicts and cultural distortions that are difficult to overcome. But an expansionist ideology is the only one that does not need 100% consensus to be developed. It means that it doesn't need coercion. Unlike other strategies, for instance, the growth, it is the only one that can be developed in a democratic and free way without coercion or authoritarian regimes. Expansion is the only strategy that guarantees freedom and full, fruitful use of all human types and all types of intelligence without mortifying any human type. This is the perverse cycle of coercion and revolution. Coercion apply murder, brutality, oppression, freedom, suppression, and this generates a rebellion and revolution. But a revolution try to install other values that are not 100% supported. Therefore, it falls again into brutality, oppression, and freedom suppression, and lack of democratic consensus, and that go back to coercion. And this is a perverse cycle that never ends until when we don't break it. Expansion means to break the cycle. It means to renaissance, growth, peace, freedom, evolution, ethics, jobs, welfare, total inclusivity, environmental relief. Krafft-Ericke wrote, the end objectives of space exploration are social objectives. While civilization is more than a high material living standard, it is nevertheless based on material abundance. It does not thrive on abject poverty, nor in an atmosphere of resignation and hopelessness. You see, Krafft-Ericke is in agreement with His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. It needs vigor as well as vision. Therefore, the end objectives of solar system exploration are social objectives in the sense that they relate to or are detected by present and future human needs. Freeman Dyson, unfortunately passed away since a few years, wrote that there are 3 reasons why, quite apart from scientific consideration, mankind needs to travel in space. The first reason is garbage disposal. We need to transfer industrial processes into space so that the Earth may remain a green and pleasant place for our grandchildren to live in. The second reason is to escape material impoverishment. The resources of this planet are finite, and we shall not forgo forever the abundance of solar energy and minerals and living space that are spread out all around us. The third reason is our spiritual need for an open frontier. The ultimate purpose of space travel is to bring to humanity not only scientific discoveries and an occasional spectacular show on television, but a real expansion of our spirit. Freeman Dyson, Disturbing the Universe, 1979. And Arthur Woods and Marco Bernasconi in 1995 wrote, the space option is the ultimate environmental and resource solution. For most of humanity, the ultimate benefit is having a realistic hope in a future with possibilities. If our species does not soon embrace this unique opportunity with sufficient commitment, it may miss its one and only chance to do so. Humanity could soon be overwhelmed by one or more of the many challenges it now faces. The window of opportunity is closing as fast as the population is increasing. Our future will be either a space age or a stone age. Let's come into the last part of the presentation, that is the hope, cosmology and human evolution assets. So this is the solar system we learned at school with 8 planets and a small teeny asteroid belt. And this is the reality. We are here in the middle of a maelstrom of many millions of asteroids between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter, and the Trojans that are the asteroids that are collecting themselves in the Lagrange liberation point between Jupiter and the Sun. Sometimes these objects take a rod around Jupiter, and by a flyby effect, Jupiter throw inside the solar system, throw them inside the solar system, and these are the near-Earth objects that come around here. There are also comets and other things, but however, these are the asteroids. Then we have the Kuiper belt. That is another very bigger belt of asteroids outside the known solar system, outside the Neptune orbit. And these are another repository of materials, very, very big. And at the end, we have the Oort cloud. The Oort cloud is a giant snowball, made of trillions of comets that are basically ice and carbon, so the basic components of life. So, as we see, we have exhausted the resources of this grain of sand in the ocean of the solar system. Okay. In his extraterrestrial imperative, Krafft Erike wrote, man, the cutting edge of extraterrestrial life, has no rational alternative but to expand the environmental and resource base beyond Earth. Global development, therefore, must be based on an open world concept and include both the development of extraterrestrial resources and the wiser management of our terrestrial resources. This is the extraterrestrial imperative. Its central goal is the preservation of the civilization. So we have a new social subject. The industrial civilization has spawned some entrepreneurs with long-term philosophical vision. So there is a new social subject that emerged from that mass education system and mass health system in the advanced countries. And this is an entrepreneur that is also an idealist, not only works for profit, but also because he cares. They care for the future of humans. And so we have Elon Musk and his company SpaceX, Jeff Bezos with Blue Origin, Richard Branson with Virgin Galactic, Robert Bigelow Luca Rossettini is an Italian one, the orbit, the inventor of the first device to orbit the satellites, avoiding to create new space debris. So, which lessons gave Elon Musk to us? The main lesson is stop playing with science fiction expensive toys, as it was made for many, many decades. Let's improve and rationalize existing technologies. The goal is to downsize the cost to orbit, to bring humans to Mars as soon as possible, to make humankind a multiplanetary species. And when you have, and we have, sitting on the command seat, a person endowed with clear goals and a strategy, the results are evident. This was the Columbus egg, and this is the Musk's egg. We do not yet have the technology for a single state to orbit, true, and therefore it's not possible to reduce the cost to Earth, of Earth orbit transport, false. The strategy is to include in the design only what is needed to accomplish the mission requirements. Use technologies already tested, improving them through computer real-time technologies available today. Just as an example, the clusters of engines were attempted and failed in 1969-70 by Russian and won. The problem was the computer science of that time was not enough to control in real time many different engines, something that now is possible. This guy, Jeff Bezos, has a very clear plan that he learned by Gerald O'Neill, as Greg Mariniak remembered before, to industrialize the geo-lunar space, to transform Earth in a beautiful garden, to work on the moon, and to live in big on-air cities located in orbit and at Earth-Moon Lagrange points. This is one of the rockets of blue origin. And we have several views of the on-air dream to make orbital cities. This is from the, the movie Elysium. A movie by Neil Blomkamp. And this is the Stanford Torus, one of the many projects proposed by Gerald O'Neill in 1970s. And we have Richard Branson that wants to transport civilian passengers in space. It's very important task to think about ergonomicity, to protect human life, to have a smooth acceleration, to have all the commodities that we have on a normal airliner, but in space. This is something that the space tourism industry is doing, but often space tourism is criticized as a toy for riches, and yes, it is for rich, but the cost will decay with the enlargement of the market, as it was for civilian aeronautics in the past century. So this is a Virgin Galactic Spaceship 2, and this is a precursor, the X-15, that in 1969 made 200 flights at suborbital quote altitude. This is Robert Bigelow making inflatable space habitats. And the only, as I know, project of a single state to orbit, this is Skylon, developed by a project developed by Reaction Engines in the UK, and it is a really futurist machine, because it has a double rocket engine that can fly in the atmosphere and outside. So lunar settlement. And Jan Werner gave us this vision during the last webinar 2 weeks ago, gave us this vision of possible industrial activities in orbit, debris removal, refueling, recycling, assembling, and maintenance, and so on. And we have a great richness that are the orbital debris that are a danger, but also a great richness because there are materials that can be recovered and reprocessed to be used for the building of a space infrastructure. And this is a view, my last slide, a view of the anthroposphere before 2050 with regular flights to the moon and to the Lagrange points and the settlements at the Lagrange L5, L4, L2, L1, and several services, industrial space hotels, etc. Okay, so this is my book. You can find it on Amazon. And I want also to thank, I didn't make it at the beginning, sorry, some persons that helped me to the publication. My former wife, Diana Baroni, who took care of the translation from Italian. Amalie Sinclair, who revised the text, and Patrick Collins, who made a revision and contributed a couple of chapters. Okay, so this is all. Thank you very much for your patience, and let's go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Adriano, for this very informative presentation. And I would like, sorry, I would like to take some questions from the chat. Priscilla is asking, with cultural pressures decreasing population, can we deduce there is growing consciousness of our need to expand humanity into space? And can we expect that to translate more support for ESA, NASA, etc.?
You want me to respond now?
Yeah. It's usually it is like this.
Okay. Okay. Yes. What can I say? Our space agencies are a repository of a big repository of know-how, because during the last 60 years they worked very much to explore space and to build the space station, and before the space station, the Mir, and to fly many astronauts that we thanks all of them, because they are all heroes, are our heroes. And so this is the big merit of the space agencies. And for sure, we want the space agencies to continue to exist and to improve and to develop, and maybe we would like the space agencies to be sided by private initiatives that are, however, going on. And there is, however, some important things that are still to be developed by scientific research. So they cannot be developed by companies alone. For instance, protecting human life from cosmic radiation is a scientific matter. Also, to develop artificial gravity includes a good number of scientific issues to be approached. And to study, to develop artificial ecosystems in our space habitats, in order to bring a piece of earth nature with us, vegetables and animals and so on. This is another scientific task. So what I hope is that we can have a great collaboration between agencies and the enterprises and the initiative the private initiative, because only in this way we can hope to win this challenge that is the biggest challenge never faced by humanity. I could say from the pyramids age or other kind of very big projects that humanity undertook in history. I don't know if my answer was good enough.
I think so. I think it is a proper answer. I wanted to mention we have people watching from Alaska. Hello, Priscilla. Jim Priscilla from Hawaii. Tom Starwalker. He's a gardener of the sky. Ghanim from Kuwait and Ina Larsen from Norway. So welcome everyone. Bernard has a question, but I would like to give one question from the chat again. Ghanem is asking, China and the Soviet Union demonstrated a huge success developing space technologies or not?
Sorry, the Soviet Union demonstrated?
China and the Soviet Union demonstrated a huge success developing space technologies. Yes.
Yes, of course they did.
Yeah, so but I wanted to give. There are a lot of remarks in the chat, but no questions. So I would give Bernard the chance to ask a question.
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much.
Sorry,
thanks. You hear me?
I didn't understand the question about China and Russia. Was it a question or a comment?
Yeah, it was with question mark, but it's more or less a comment because the answer is yes. It was okay.
Okay, so, okay, I don't know if you want a short answer to that, I will, because I think it's important too. Because what is the lesson coming from Russia, for instance? I think is to think about the space transportation in an industrial way. So they never stopped producing Soyuz from the 60s, okay? So that thing made possible that when the shuttle was retired, it was possible to keep on reaching the space station with Soyuz, a very old machine, but still working because it was produced one per year, maybe two per, I don't know exactly, 1 or 2 per year. So it was continually renewed. And this was a correct strategy, very much better than the space shuttle one that only produced 5 unique pieces. And of each machine, when it is too old, it is normal that it can break and have accidents. So I think the work made by Russia and by China are important. And also China now is important as a, how can I say, as a competitor. Because the new space race is also happening because China have a very strong program and they want to go to the moon and to Mars, etc. So in some way, this force, let's say, the Western countries and Western agencies to work and to go ahead. Okay.
He clarified his question up a little bit. He says China is an example of non-democracy, and the question is about how democracy and freedom is important for the expansion to outer space.
Yes, of course it is. But I see. I apologize, Bernard, because
no. Yeah,
okay.
Let's continue.
I see it in the reverse mode. So I don't think we need a better democracy before going to space. I think going to space will resolve our problems and help the development of a better democracy, because it will going to space, expanding into space will relaunch the economy, will launch a very big industrial renaissance, and the economy will start to grow up. And this will be help for democracy, for peace, and for everything. So this is why I am a humanist. I believe that humans, when they have enough to live and work peacefully and etc., they prefer to do that than to fight and kill each other. Therefore, I think that opening the system and start expanding is the hope. What the Dalai Lama said that we are missing, hope.
Yes, but I think that money will not solve the problem. And Eric Eason is asking, saying he is very curious if indigenous autochthonous jurisprudence would be considered and integrated into space law. And I think if money plays a role, humans are not so important.
Well, it's not money. The concept is not money. Richness is not money, is resources and know-how. This is the richness.
Yeah, you said democracy is not so important. Yeah. So
okay, it's not enough, of course, but however, it is a good start. It's better to think about things to do having eaten than to be starving. Of course, it's very Lapalisian consideration. However, okay. Okay, but this is my opinion. No, I am humanist. I believe in humans, and I think that given better condition, everything will be better. We'll develop better, and space is essential. Is key to this process to realize the UN SDGs. This is key.
Okay, Bernard, your turn.
Yeah, excellent. Actually, it was exactly the point I wanted to intervene. First, thank you very much, Adriano, for a very exciting book, and also the presentation, very comprehensive. And you have shown that you draw on the thinking and of heritage, and also you incorporate not only the big thinkers, but also what has been happening recently in terms of technology development that makes that we are now mature for expanding into space, and also some of the recent development with new space. And I'm also a space humanist, so I share very much what you propose. Other one, I wonder whether we are not too human-centered. And so we had also to do this revolution. So we are not human alone. So we have a responsibility towards other living species on Earth. We have a responsibility toward the Earth, towards the overall ecosystem of Earth. And so one of my questions is first, actually now I am attending a conference. It's a global conference on emerging countries. And we are very much talking about the space ecosystem. And they were mostly interested in applications of space to the sustainable development goals that you have mentioned. And so it's very important that we describe well how space exploration also answers those development of sustainable development goals. So first question is, in your vision, how can we be more inclusive to involve other countries, and also to have a point of view not only of humans but of the whole biosphere? And so that's how can you incorporate to be even more than humanist to take care of this ecosystem view? And the second is how we are going to move an ecological system on other planets? So what do we bring with us?
Yes, thank you for these questions. As I try to explain, but of course it is a very controversial point. It depends from which angle of view you are seeing it, and can change it, like a very how can I say, wild thing. Okay. I see it like a wild thing, because I try to explain that the key is to consider ourselves humans part of the nature and not something else. This seems to be an obvious thing, but it is not obvious, because we come from decades and decades and maybe centuries of discussion between man and nature, okay? Human things and the nature and the man and the environment, etc., etc., etc. And it seems that this is a typical, let me say, Aristotelian dichotomy, no? That see black and white. And almost all the Aristotelian dichotomies are wrong, because there are not never only two opponents. There are several dichotomic couples around a dialectic center. Therefore, okay, however, we are not against. We have to understand, and in this, to formulate this, I think I have to thank Dr. Marie-Louise Heuser, who talked to us about the natural philosophy coming from Plato and so on, because it is very, very much important, the concept that we are part of nature, and nature is not only this planet, nature is the cosmos, is the universe. So if we think about ecology, we don't have only to think about a terrestrial ecology. We have to think about the solar system ecology and the galactic ecology and so on, until where we are able to see, of course, because we are not able to see everything and to, okay, however. So if we think that we are part of nature and that we are a legitimate part of nature, because we have to defend ourselves as humans against the nihilist and anti-humanist views that see humans as a parasite, that see humans as a destructor, a bad agent. No, we have to claim our role of part of nature and agents of nature. That also means to defend our intelligence, because many anti-humanists are attacking directly human intelligence, because they say everything we make is worse, everything we make is bad, is wrong. We try to do better than nature, but we are not able. So we only make mistakes, we are only making bad things, etc. But this thing means that our science should be thrown in the toilet, that our technologies should be thrown in the toilet. And then if we take the 17 goals of the UN, what will be of the 17 goals of the UN if we throw our science and our technology in the toilet? So I think the very limit of the current age discussions is that they only concentrate on one only thing per time, and tomorrow they are able to say the exactly opposite. Because if you discuss on the UN SDGs, then you try to demonstrate all that we can do to have a new industrial development, economic growth, etc. But if we sit down in a discussion about climate change and so on, that will be completely opposite. And the same persons can discuss in both with different mind orientation. We try to have a unique view of the things, and to see what should be the strategy to make things go. It means also to take risks, of course.
Yeah, but you have to be careful with a unique view, because this can lead to totalitarianism. And yes. I think that also you mentioned science is important, but science without conscience can ruin your soul.
Of course.
Yeah.
No, that's why I say that when we discuss, we have to take care of all the problems, not only of one, because if we take care of only one point, we can try to decide to adopt some strategies that tomorrow will be wrong, because thinking about the other goal, they will be wrong.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's why I said unique, but unique is not a good word.
You need diversity, and then we need to work out.
Of course.
Yeah, here's another question in the chat. All systems are back to the former question. All systems are dictatorships by one degree or another. Would a technical approach to resource management, would such a system dismantle democracy or evolve the social discourse to social justice?
Technical approach to resource management will...
You can read the chat.
Sure,
You can
yes,
read the chat.
I'm sure I understood exactly the question. A technical approach to the. Can you read it again, please?
So, would a technical approach to resource management, would such a system dismantle democracy or evolve the social discourse to social justice?
Well, it's very hard to reply, of course. However, a technical approach to resource management. Yes, I'm not sure we need only a technical approach to resource management. We need a technical and social approach to resource management. And we need inclusivity, of course. And okay. I think that only expanding into space will realize a 100% inclusive society. But we should not stop to try to have social inclusivity even before, where it is possible, where we can do it, and as a model, as an example of how we should work, and so on. And of course, an approach to resource management. For sure, it cannot be a military approach, and we are really enough of this military approach to solve the resource problems. And everybody knows that. Okay, I admit I didn't know. I learned it during these days because they are talking about that. Ukraine seems to be a repository of rare earths and minerals that are useful for production of chips, microchips, etc. So maybe not that strange that somebody decided, okay, now I got there with my power, and okay, to make the interest of my country by arms, by weapons. But we are enough of that. And I think that, okay, I know I repeat myself, but I think that the more our planet will remain closed, the more this thing will worsen. And governments and people will be attempted to conquer resources by means of military power, and to discuss about resources only because, you know, technology can be seen as a neutral ground, no, to discuss about resources, but it is not. Technology is never neutral. It depends how you will use it, for a humanist goal or for a different goal that is not humanist. So, okay.
Yeah, Bernard?
Excellent. So that's okay, important topics. Now I have a simple question. So how do you see the next steps now to include the diversity of other views? Because, for instance, there are all there are other regions in the world that have a different approach to what are the problems we want to solve on Earth, and also what expansion to space can bring to us. So do you see some the next phase of study where we, and also in the frame of Space Renaissance initiative, where we could continue some of the work?
Yes, well, let me say I'm optimist on this thing, because also because in these last weeks we started to examine some proposal of internships to help us in our works and in the organization and so on. And many of these come from emergent countries.
Oh, very good.
So they are young people who studied at the university and are very much interested to space exploration. And when I discuss with them, I say, look, space exploration is good, but now we need expansion into space. They are even more interested, maybe because they are listening to this for the first time, or I don't know. However, I see that young people are very much interested because, of course, if you see it from the point of view of a 70 years old guy like I am, I can say, okay, I do my best, no, to spread this concept, to attract people, to train space renaissance ambassadors, to develop this concept around in the world, etc. But this is all what I can do, no, on my side. But the young people, 20 years old, 25, 30 years old, they are looking for the future because it will be their future. And of course, space is very interesting for them, because they cannot be happy if the people, just because people say, look, you know what, now you can go around in a car, because a car ended, forget it. Why? Because we polluted everything and now it's time to stop. But you went around on a car and I will not. So this is something that the young people can think in his mind, no? So of course they are looking for some escape ways that is different from the gloomy future of declining civilization. So
there is hope.
Yeah.
I have also a question. You showed this slide with eco,
yes.
ego,
Yes.
saver. Yeah, and you said you do not agree with one of them. What is your position to this in this regard? Where you see the human being?
Yes, I say that I disagree in different proportion to the three pictures. The first one, the left one, I disagree, because I definitely don't see male man as the vertex of the pyramid, you know, of the hierarchical pyramid, with all the animals down and the man up. I also disagree with the second, the middle picture, where humans are considered the same level of the other animals. That is not true, because the difference is intelligence and awareness that are not on-off, but however we have in a higher degree. And the third picture consider humans as a server of the rest of nature. This could be true in some way, but not only, because we cannot only consider ourselves as the server of the rest of nature. I think we will serve the rest of nature if we serve ourselves, first of all. If we think about continuation of our civilization, if we think about start to go outside and relieving this planet and relieving the environment of this planet, the natural environment of this planet, and so allowing the other species to continue living in a good environment, and knowing perfectly that nature, however, is not something that can be freezed, to remain the same for centuries and millennia. Nature is change, as Octavia Butler say. The only God is change, and nature is change. Species lives and dead and die, and new species have birth, and so on. So, but however, my internal moral diktat is to avoid sufferance as much as possible. Compassion to all. What does it mean? It doesn't mean not to eat animals, because if the concept is not give sufferance, we can also keep in a good existence animals that at a certain point we will eat. Why not? Without causing to bad suffering to them and so on. So my point is to avoid sufferance and to have compassion for the whole sentient beings. And this means responsibility. It means responsibility because we have to enlarge our home in order to permit, to allow ourselves and the other life beings to keep on living and progressing. Who can say that the elephants, dolphins, and chimpanzee will not evolve toward an higher degree of intelligence? Should we have them? Why not? So the point is, I strongly disagree with the left picture. I reasonably disagree with the middle one, and I only very partially agree with the third one, because we can be servers, but not only. If we will be only servers of the rest of matter, we will not solve the problems at all. We need more. We need to take our responsibility to be the leaders. We need to be the leaders of the life. We are. We cannot think that somebody else will be the leader of the life in the solar system, in the universe. In this part of the universe, we are the only intelligent species. So we are naturally the leaders. We cannot avoid, we cannot abdicate to this. Leader is not a bad thing if you're not a dictator.
Okay. There's another question. Has there been any research on distributed ledger technology in space applications?
Distributed?
Has there been any research on distributed ledger technology in space application? Shall I put you the question in the chat? Moment, just a second.
Distributed ledger. So are we talking about e-learning or something else? A ledger. Sorry.
Ledger.
I don't know.
What was wrong?
Sorry, I'm sorry, but I'm ignorant and I don't know what does it mean, ledger. Can you help me?
Actually, I don't know it too.
Okay,
Bernard.
I will look on the dictionary in just a moment. Okay.
Do you know what? You have to unmute, Bernard.
Sorry, my poor English sometimes is. Let me try. No, I have a translation in Italian that is libro master, registro. What does it mean? Let me try with another language. Okay, in Deutsch is Hauptbuch.
This is some blockchain, you know, the new technologies that are used, blockchain, crypto technologies, and you know, they are considering to use them in some space applications in the case.
Okay.
So this is the idea is to not to have a centralized, but to have a decentralized network to manage everything.
Okay. So using the blockchain and crypto values as a model, let me say.
Yeah.
I have to confess. I don't know about that.
Yeah, but I think if you're listening to you, humanist, democratic values, so you want, yes, to have to listen to diverse opinions, and we will take decisions that are more decentralized. But sometimes it's very important to coordinate, because you know, space can be risky, and so it's important that if you have on a spaceship, you know who is in charge for the safety of everybody.
Yes, of course. Good. Do we have other questions, Sabine? Go to the end.
There are many comments from Ena in the chat. You can read it after. because there are no questions from him, so I will not read all comments. But I would like to thank you for your interesting lecture, your wide range lecture, and to our audience, I would like to thank you that they joined us. Bernard too, thank you for joining us. And,
yes, thank you. And as we say in Ecuador, hasta la vista.
Ja, hasta la vista or hasta la próxima. Ja, bis zum nächsten Mal. No, I wanted to speak in English, in Spanish. Yeah, I switched immediately into Spanish. Our next webinar will be, so now my page on the, just a second, will be on the 6th of June, and Aldo Spadoni will talk about exploring the boundaries of art, design, aerospace engineering, and popular culture. So we have an art-related topic next week. I'm really happy about this. And I also would like to invite you to point or draw your attention to our Space, Art and Science Festival. Now we have a new sponsor and it has a new name. Bernard, now is the name?
Yeah, so we will have a Space Renaissance Festival, and we will host a number of events that will include the Galix Congress 2022. Galix has been partner in an event that they organized last year in March. They have an annual event, and this year we will host the Galix Congress 2022. We will host also a number of other activities like the Human Mars activities, art competition, and a number of very nice in-presence events, as well as some virtual talks. So I think I'm looking forward very much to the Space Renaissance Art and Science Festival from 7th to the 9th of July.
In Berlin. And
in Berlin, yeah.
In Berlin at the Eichenholz Observatory. And if you are interested to join the festival, you can register online on our webpage. Adriano will put the link into the chat, I guess. And you are very welcome to travel to Berlin. Berlin always is worth to travel to. And we have a really nice program, and we are looking forward for this. So thank you for joining us, for being with us. Bernard, I wish you a lot of fun in Quito.
Yeah.
Have a nice time. Yeah, the pictures you put in the chat are very, very beautiful. And hope to see you all on our next webinar on the 6th of June. Thank you.
Excellent. Auf Wiedersehen.
Yeah. Hasta la vista.
Ad astra.
Goodbye.
Ciao.
Ad astra, yes.